People have all these stories. People have all this information and facts, analogies. What they don't know how to do is they don't know how to connect the dots.
An amazing storyteller, a TEDx speaker, inspiring many. The founder of Night Owl Nation, Sun Yi.
The person that you think you are is actually not really. But that's why for most people, when they watch themselves on video, it's like, oh, who is that? Is that me? Because they're seeing the real them for the first time. Not the ego version of them that they've created in their head, but the real them on video.
What would you say to anyone that's looking to build a community?
If I really, really wanted to promote this right now, like within the next year, I can probably get it to like 10,000 members. Community is actually not about the numbers at all. Like you said, the follower thing, the same thing applies in communities.
The guest I have for you today, in my opinion, is one of the most authentic, impactful people on Instagram. I have never known someone to give so much value at the level he does, at the price point he does. He has an agency that's worked with Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, Gabby Bernstein. He's an amazing storyteller. He's a TEDx speaker, and he now is the founder of Night Owl Nation, which is a community driven by storytelling. He grew from 0 to 750 members in a very short period of time with no promotion at all. I'm so excited to bring you Sun Yi. How are you, man? Talk to me. How are you? It's good to speak to you. I ain't spoken to you for ages. What's been going on?
How's it been? How's business?
Business is good, mate. Business is good. Found our lane that we're enjoying getting traction, which is good, which is mainly going after and helping course creators, content creators, community builders, which is great.
Before you used to do like a lot of the funnel stuff, like lead
still
gen
doing ads and funnels, but specific now to people that have a transferable skill that they want to share, right? They want to have an impact on a community. Whereas before,
personal brands.
Yeah,
so personal brands, yeah.
Yeah, like yourself, someone like you, you've got a community, you want more people to join it. You're actually making a difference to those people's lives, right? With the knowledge you're sharing. That's key for us, like big, because that's the generic answer actually. A lot of course creators, they do it for the money grab rather than the transferable skill to help the person, right? It's like this balance. So it's like they want to make loads of money and then they want to help loads of people. Whereas there's also a lot of course creators, content creators that put community first, put impact first. That's why I'm talking to you today, because I want to shine a light on that.
Yeah, that's so funny because I'm rewriting copy for my website. And like I really, when I write copy for a website, I need to really drill down the product sales page and the about page, And when you do that, you really figure out the essence of your brand and what you're all about, right? Because like the about page tells you what your brand is all about. And then the product page tells you like what your differentiator is, why, So, and that what you're saying is the exact thing that's my story, which is, and it's kind of like it's kind of like I have to practice what I preach, because we say authenticity and all of that shit, right? You gotta be, you gotta speak what's the truth and stuff like that. And for me, that is the authenticity. Like the truth is that even the people that say, I want to help people, like if you look at their actions, it's one thing to look at what they say, but if you look at their actions, this industry is broken. This industry is all about making money. Like how's it possible? Why has it become that online courses, right? If you look at online courses, like to me, if you think of online courses, that's education, that's teaching, that's whatever, universities, whatever education, right? Whatever form of education. But it's almost become, if you look at the vocabulary that's being used and things like that in this industry, what is it? It's like 6-figure launch, right? Or like automating, or like scaling, or like, when people say you pay and you pay attention, those kind of phrases, like this industry is designed around marketing, not around teaching. And I think that's the core problem. Like, people have forgotten that, like, if you're let's say you're teaching whatever, you're teaching design, right? Like, or you're teaching whatever, coding or programming, whatever. People have forgotten that their main job is to teach, not to sell.
No, it's do you know what, right? Because I wanted to get into this with you because I saw when you launched Night Owl Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and you launched it at $5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that's listening in, Sun has got a super successful agency, like super successful, work with massive personal brands like Jay Shetty's and big names that charge thousands of pounds for their courses and programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you launch it at $5, and you went on this rant. I call it a rant, but it was like you was expressing yourself, how you feel, right? Which I thought was great. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna potentially lose clients, maybe, like, and I'm gonna launch it like this because this is what
that's
I believe.
the thing. Yeah.
So
when I say this
yeah,
on my about page, and I really go push this with my brand. Yeah, it's the thing, right? No point of being authentic and telling the honest truth and all of that when stakes are low, when you got nothing to lose, right? This is like speaking the truth when you have something to lose. Yeah. Some of the people that I'm talking about, some of them are friends. Some of them are people that I respect, right? But I still got to call them out on their bullshit. Right? And that is speaking on the truth, right? And it's not that I'm not doing it in a way where, like, I'm not calling them out on their bullshit, like, oh, they're trying to, like, scam people like that. No, that's not what I mean. Like, I think everybody has good intentions, but I don't think it's an individual that's a problem. I think it's the whole industry that's the problem. Because here's what I mean. As soon as I put out that video, the one you're talking about, because that's the only time I talked about it, right? The $5 video. What triggered me to do that video is right before that, everybody kept telling me and, like, advising me, like, coaching me, like, son, hey, you need to raise your prices, that the whole thing, right? When if they don't pay, they don't pay attention. Like, that whole marketing scheme, right? As if my goal is to try to make a profit, and I'm trying to make a bigger profit, make more money, and that they're trying to help me do that. I understand, right? I understand that they're all trying to help me, right? I understand all of that. But you see where that's wrong? It's their intention is good. They're trying to help me in terms of marketing and all of that. But are they trying to help me actually make a better product? Are they trying to help me actually teach better? Are they actually you know what I mean? So it's the whole mindset shift. I think that we, at some point in this industry, forgot that the way we help people is not marketing. And somehow, maybe there are a few bad actors in the industry that have brainwashed the whole industry to think that, okay, it's not that we're selling, it's that we want to make a bigger impact, right? It's like this euphemisms, right? Like, oh, it's not that we want to make a lot of money and charge a high ticket. It's that if they don't pay attention. Like, we come up with all these fucking bullshit marketing tactics to justify this,
smoke
and
and mirrors.
we've ruined the whole industry with it, to a place where we start believing in our own shit.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, because it's like everyone then just believes what that process works and it makes money. It's because it works.
Yeah,
right. It works. So
and
then
you hear it enough. That's exactly what happened when somebody started telling me you should raise your prices, but, like, they don't take the reason why, like, if they don't pay, they're not going to take it seriously. Blah blah blah. Like, I started doubting myself. I'm like, oh, maybe you're right. Oh, maybe I should raise my prices. Well, do you know what I mean? Like, that's why it's so hard to be authentic. That's why it's one thing to go out and preach about authenticity, another thing to actually do it.
Well, listen, authenticity, because that is your brand in the sense that that's what you've spoke about so much, right? But then really what I'm hearing is congruency, Because people can talk about being authentic, but what you're saying, I'm being congruent to the words I'm speaking, right? I'm acting upon that in a way that is going to surprise most people. But I have to, because I have to stick by my word, right? I have to stick by my word to myself and my community, which I respected.
A lot of people think that means. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to like, you know, like disrupt the industry and try to like call people out and like, you know, point fingers and say what you're doing is. That's not what I'm trying to say. You know, the person that I'm pointing the finger at the most is myself. So if I start blaming and I start talking about, oh, this is, you know, like the course creators are bullshit, blah 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 blah, that's just my ego speaking, right? Like, but I think that the way you can be authentic and not be an asshole is if you really are authentic, not from your ego, but really authentic, right? Because if you really are authentic, then what you're going to do is you're not going to try to like bash people or say everything that you're doing is wrong. What you're going to do is you're going to actually try to fix the problem and show them the right way to do it. Because it's not that they're doing it because they're evil. They're doing it because they don't know. They doing it because they genuinely think that they're helping people. But I think once I fix it, get Night Owl Nation to a point where, okay, this is how it's supposed to be done, where people actually get value, then maybe people will start turning around.
Let me ask you a question, right? Because when you was doing that, I was thinking this. You are obviously for a certain place in your life, financially, mentally. Do you think you would have made that decision if you didn't have so much? And I'm assuming
if I didn't have the runway, like you mean, like if I didn't need the money, you know what? I thought about that too, so many times, and you know, like immediately what I would say is probably not, because right now I have the luxury to do that, right? But people might be looking at me, but like, son, easy for you to say, blah, 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 like all of that shit, right? But then I thought more about it because people have asked me that, and what the conclusion I came to, I think I would, because that's exactly what I did 10 years ago when I started Night Owl. Like I was in no position financially to be following my values and like, you know, like saying, you know, I'll choose authenticity over like, but I was doing that back then. And for the first year of Night Owl, we were sleeping in our office. We were homeless because we were renting our apartment to Airbnb so we could make enough money to pay for our rent in the office. And so, I mean, I was struggling. And yeah, I was struggling, but I was still like that. So I think I would have.
I think as well, like when you've got that muscle, as in like you've done that before, you also know what you can produce when you put your stake in the ground and like actually stick behind your words and burn the bridges, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You always come out fighting, and you've got that muscle to say, I've done.
You
this
almost
before.
need a little bit of delusion like that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I do think though as well, because you speak so at your core, you speak about these things to your community. That's another layer of accountability, which definitely helps, man. Like it must help, because it's like you'd lose face by not doing what you preach. Like I know how you just would, right? So that helps, I think, when I look at
Night Owl Nation is a huge accountability for myself, right? When we say community, it's not like people join Night Owl Nation, they get like Night Owl Nation is a lot of it is for me too. I need that accountability. I need somebody to call me out of my bullshit, right? I need some, you know. So like if you look at our manifesto, that's why we're all about like dropping our ego. You know?
Yeah, I hear that. Talk to people about what Night Owl Nation is. Like how many community members have you got? What is it like? Because people will be thinking $5, you know. How much access do I get to this guy? And I want you to shock them with how much access and what you're giving for that $5. I want you to explain to people, because I don't think they're going to understand.
So I mean, I think I have to kind of give background information on how we got here.
Go.
So since we launched, we actually haven't really promoted Night Owl Nation, meaning I haven't focused on selling it. And it goes back to that problem of, because I don't think it's ready yet. I personally don't believe it's ready yet. Like, to me, I think it'll be ready if we can get like 80% of people that are signing up to join a small group and come to the small group meeting regularly, weekly. Then I would consider that a success, and I would be proud to like push it out, right? Okay. So we have so far about 750 members. Just these are like kind of our core fan group, right? And what we do every week. So it started out as me trying to teach like, marketing and all of that shit. And quickly what I realized is, so we did that for 9 weeks. So what we have is we have Sunday service where we meet every week, where I teach them something. And then we have Monday masterclass where we meet and I teach them something more like a hands-on skill, like designing or video editing or copywriting or something like that. And then we also have on Wednesdays we have a workshop that a community member teaches within their expertise, and then we have hot seats on Fridays, and then we have homework every week that they have to do, and they share it within our community, and then I go back and I'll give them feedback. And they can also share it within their small groups. So we have small groups where people can get together and practice. And quickly, what I realize is that a lot of people don't need like, see, as soon as we started doing storytelling, what I started realizing is that these people don't have problem storytelling. It's not that they don't know how to tell stories. That's not the problem. It's that they don't even have stories. First of all, they don't have stories, and they don't really have opinions. That's actually a huge thing. Most people don't really have opinion. Most people don't have taste. And when I say taste, I mean this, right? Like, you can see somebody who's dressed like a homeless person, but that person can still have taste. Do you understand what I mean? The difference is this, right? When you walk into a room where everybody is wearing the same trend, that whatever is popular right now, the same popular car everyone's driving. When you go on Instagram, you see that everybody's doing the same trend where people are pointing the same thing, right? When you see that over and over, like that's a sign of somebody who doesn't have taste, because they're just borrowing other people's taste. You know what I mean? Oh, you're a Republican? I'm a Republican too. Oh, you're a Democrat? I'm a Democrat too. Oh, you like this person? Oh, I like him. Oh, you like that music? Oh, I like that too. They're just borrowing taste from everyone else. They don't actually have their own opinions. So that's kind of what I realized. Like, most people don't actually have their own original thought to share. And that's why their content is bad.
Do you think it's a case they don't? Obviously, there's going to be some that don't, right? But do you think some of them are just afraid or can't articulate, or?
Yeah. So there are definitely like people who just have that too, right? They just can't.
Yeah.
They're just afraid to be themselves or whatnot.
Because I had that, right? I had tons of stories. I think I had, one, I was afraid of that. My stories they didn't mean anything, right? So then I wouldn't share them. I was like, they're pointless, or I'd think
no, that's what I meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, or I thought they were braggadocious, or like I didn't realize this is how you get people to draw in about you, right? Like, so all of these things I had no clue about, literally. So it's interesting. I can totally resonate probably with some people in Night Owl that was maybe not taking action, or like
exactly,
doing that, because I've done it for years and years, just sitting there like, okay, what's the trend now? Okay, do that. Not actually listening to
what happens is everyone has stories. Obviously, it's not that they don't have stories. Everyone has stories, but I don't think what they have, because this is what happens. First, when I share, I'll tell all these people to share a story, like a memory. There are a lot of them. He's like, oh, I don't have one. I don't remember anything. Like, and those people that are shutting out their past. Okay. But then there are people who say, oh, I have one. And they'll tell me a story. And they'll tell me the lesson that they learned from their story. But then when I see that story, I see a completely different connection. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, you know what? That story that you just told me, and then remember this one time you told me this other thing that happened recently. When I connect the two, what I see is happening is like, this is what's happening to you, or this is what. So, for example, when somebody will come and tell me a story like this, son, hey, son, I was, like people always like underestimate me, and my teachers will always like yell at me and blah blah blah. But and then this one day, like I knew that I had to finish this homework, and but because I never give up, I just finished it anyway, and then I just turned it in, and then my teacher said this wasn't good, but then it ended up winning this award and blah blah blah, and this is how they tell a story, right? So when I hear that story, what that person doesn't realize is, okay, because this is how I actually teach storytelling. Usually in life, what's going to happen is you're going to have a story of trauma, and usually that happens like earlier in your life, and then story of healing. So for example, if you grow up like where your parents are always fighting about money, right? You might have that story that you're telling yourself that money is like, like money equals unhappiness, like the money, like you're always gonna have that scarcity mindset until you have another story later on in life that breaks you free of that trauma, and that's a story of healing. And you have to tell both stories, right? Like I used to be like this until this happened, and then this is how I learned to be like that, right? But then when somebody tells a story like the one I told you before with the teacher, and I'm like, okay, where is the story of healing? Because you just told me the story of trauma. Like, here's the thing: if somebody tells me that, like they've always been like that, and that's why they were so great, like there is no old you and new you. There's no transformation there, right? What that tells me is that you're still in trauma. So if somebody is like speaking up and like overachiever like that, and they haven't healed yet, what that means is that that person's weakness is overachiever. Do you know what I mean? Because that's their trauma. They're like, they don't understand that continuing to overachieve and continuing to seek other people's validation and awards and things like that is actually hurting. They don't realize that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they still need to heal from that. On the other hand, there are some people who actually needs that, right? They're so lazy and they're so like underachiever. They're such a losers that they have to go through this to become an overachiever. Then for that person, yes, that is the healing. But for this person, that's actually, they're still in trauma. So depending on who, just because you're this doesn't mean you're here. And you know what I mean? That's why everybody's story is different. One person's trauma might be another person's healing, and vice versa.
Got you. And it's mad. So in Night Owl, do you think storytelling has been one of the most? Would you say that's one of the main things that people are there for? Do you feel?
Yeah. So that's what only thing we do now. Like, so what I realize is that people have all these stories, people have all this information and facts, analogies. What they don't know how to do is they don't know how to connect the dots. Okay, oh, that story means this, and this is why I'm like this. Oh, you know what? My weakness, me, is that I have a horrible poker face. You play poker with me, you'll take all my money. Like, you know when I have aces, you know when I have shitty cards, you know when I'm angry, you know when I'm happy. Like, I cannot hide my feelings. I cannot lie. So you put me in a boardroom, you try to like put me in a negotiation room, I will fail. Do you know what I mean? Like the first person that I had to fire, I went to read all these articles about like, oh, you're not supposed to apologize and blah blah blah, like don't show emotion, blah blah blah. But then when I went in, like the first thing I did was like, oh, I'm sorry, and I started to cry. So that's how bad of a poker face I have, right? So that's my weakness. But I need to look at my life and understand my story to know that, okay, because that's my weakness, my strength is that I can't lie. So I need to lean into that, right? And I need to say, this is my brand. And that's why I can't lie. So yeah, there are certain things that I need to be self-aware enough to know that, okay, don't put me in a negotiation room when we're trying to negotiate our rent for the office. Don't put me in the room with the client where the client where I want to give them everything when we're trying to get them to pay more, right? So have somebody else do that, because I'm self-aware to know that that's how it can help hurt me. But I'm also self-aware enough to know that if you put me in a sales meeting and I'm going like this, like I'll close every sale as long as I believe in the product, right? So you kind of have to know how your personality is, the two sides of like your strength and weakness. And based on that, how are you going to tell that story? What story are you going to tell to show that I can't lie? To show that that's why I'm like this, something like that.
Interesting. Do you think with the community that you're building, what like one thing that I always think about is self-awareness. You said it just there. I know loads of people talk about self-awareness, but it's one of those things that so many people don't actually have it. And I was trying to think about when did I develop self-awareness, because I was never always this self-aware, right? Like I was terrible, make excuses, lie to myself, and I would never pull myself up.
And the only person that doesn't know is you you ever heard that term, like when you go into a poker room and if you can't figure out who the sucker is, it's you, right? That's kind of how it is with self-awareness. The only person that doesn't know that you're making an ass out of yourself is you. Everybody else sees it except you.
So true, man. It's so true. But it's like, how do you teach that in your community? Like, how do you open their eyes to self-awareness? Or do you find that a lot of them are self-aware? Or do you just call them out on their bullshit?
No, it's hard. I mean, see, that's the thing, right? So the stuff that we're trying to teach in our community is super, super, super hard. It cannot be taught overnight, right? And that's why it's so hard, what I'm trying to do. That's why courses like the way people doing it are not working. And that's why I said I don't feel confident enough to promote it, like push it out yet, because I feel like I haven't found that formula yet. But I think there will be a formula. But yeah, it's super hard, right? But I think it's all about just dropping your ego, because I think once you realize that every problem you have, everything that you're doing, all your fears, all your anxiety, all of that stuff that you feel, all has to do with your ego, right? Because that's why we do that, right? The reason why we're not self-aware. Here's the thing. I talked about this today in my Instagram live, but you know that the person that you think you are is actually not really like you. The Daniel Allen page that you think is not the real you. That Daniel Allen page that you think is actually the ego of you. Okay. The real Daniel Allen page, the person who knows the real Daniel Allen page, are actually like your kids, your wife, like the closest people that are around you knows the real you, even the things that you don't want to admit. Okay. And then this Daniel Allen page is you. I mean, I'm not talking about you, but I'm just talking about in general, like, right? And then that's why the first time you watch yourself on so this is probably not you, because you've watched yourself on video many times, right? But that's why for most people, when they watch themselves on video, it's like, oh, who is that? Is that me? I sound like that? It's because they're seeing the real them for the first time, not the ego version of them that they've created in their head. Yeah, but the real them on video, right? And the more you see it, the more real version you see. And I think you do that long enough. I've experienced this over the last couple of years. Like in the beginning, I was so cringe, like listening to myself talk and watching myself talk. But after 2 years, I've actually become comfortable with the real me, not the ego me that's in my head, but the real me that I can actually see on video, right? like, and after watching hours and hours, hundreds of hours myself on video, I'm like, oh, that's who I am. Like flaws and everything, right? And I've 100% accepted that now. And I think that's, you can actually get really, really close to self-awareness by constantly watching yourself on video.
Yeah. It's so
as
true.
funny as
That's almost like a hidden benefit of getting on video. Because I remember when I first done it, right? I used to present. Like I used to get on camera and present, and I was even more unlike who I was. I was like, that's not even me completely. I think it's. So I was like, no, if I'm gonna do this, I felt so uncomfortable watching it back, and it got to the point where I was like, no, I'm just gonna be myself. I'm just gonna be right and just record however it comes out. And then I started to be, and even now I still cringe watching things back because I had a big gap of not doing it. Like 6 months on again. So now I got the camera out again, I'm like, oh, ouch. Like you listen to it like this. But that's
why I think you should. Are you still doing the podcast?
This is starting now.
Okay,
video. Yeah. I've got like a month's worth of content getting going again.
The long form videos.
Yeah.
They really help me. Because you can't, you can fake it for like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 5 minutes, things like that. You can't fake it for an hour, right?
Bro, I said this to my video editor. I said it to my video editor, right? I got humbled so good the other day, right? I had done this YouTube video talking about salsa, whatever it was, 30, 40 minutes long, yeah? He cut this thing down to 6 minutes because it was so much garbage in there. There was so much shit in this video. It got reduced to 6 minutes. And I was like, damn, like I got humbled. And it's so true because you can blag it for 30 seconds. You can point to like captions. But when it comes to long form and actually like articulating your message and doing it for that period, there is nothing better. Like, I mean, I'm learning so much about myself during now, like this process. It's almost like therapy, mate. Like it's so good because you're learning more about yourself.
Yeah, because it's there's no, when you're making content, you're still coming up with the idea, boom, you're writing it down, boom, and then there's like a process, right? Whereas with a podcast, it's literally you're reacting to what I'm saying, like straight from here, boom, to the mic, and that's it, right? There's no, so it's a real you know.
It's true, man. Very true. Very, very true. So going back to your community, right? Because I am 750 people, and your goal, by the sounds of it, before you go ham with this thing, as in like go mental,
like promote it.
You want it to be like 80% attendance to the main teachings, right? You want as many people in the room, I guess, so they're taking action. My only goal
is that, because what's happening is, so I'm going to compare it to like, I think you can learn how to play the piano through an online course, but you can't learn to be a great composer through an online course. That once you learn how to play the piano, you just have to practice the piano over it. You have to keep doing it, and the experience is what makes you a great composer. I can learn how to type, or I can learn English on an online course, but that's not going to teach you how to write a best-selling novel. That is life experience and practice of writing or whatever it is, right? So what all these people out here are trying to sell with their online courses, where they with their 6-figure launches and like sit on the beach and make money, you can't learn that. You can't learn how to be a great entrepreneur through a course. You can learn how to use Photoshop on a course. You can learn how to use QuickBooks to do your books in a course. You can learn how to register a corporation on a course. You can learn how to, you can learn how to use ConvertKit to do email marketing on the course, but you can't learn how to be a great entrepreneur, which is what it takes to have 6-figure launches, which is what it takes to grow Instagram. It's, you know what I mean? So those things actually requires practice, not the information. So as long as I can get people to show up every week and practice, I know that just within a matter of time, they'll be, because I can already see some of our members that are constantly showing up every week. They're becoming such fucking storytelling rock stars. They'll hear, and now what's happening is that this is why peer-to-peer learning, the community works so well, is because now they're able to call people out. Like when when a newbie comes in and they tell a story wrong, they can actually point it out. It's like, oh, I think this is what happened there.
They can coach them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which is the best way to learn, right? Is like that's exactly, the practice, right?
100%. Yeah, like live, right in the spot when you do it wrong, like correct them right there. And as long as they're showing up every week, I know that they're gonna improve, right? But right now, my biggest challenge is to get them to show up, right? Because you know how it is. People are busy. They sign up, $5. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll go next week. And then, I got a deadline tomorrow. I'll go next week. You know how it is. So right now, most of my energy and focus right now is focused on learning psychology, studying psychology, human psychology, incentive systems. What drives motivation? You know, like habits. How do I get people to do habit? Like all about, like I'm trying to get people to, because if I can get them to show up to their small group meetings every week, I'm golden. And it's not even like every week. If I can get them to just show up like 3 weeks, because the small groups are such a good community that once you're there every week, those people start like DMing you and be like, hey, you know, like I loved your story you shared this week. Hey, like I'll see you next week, and you know that it builds that kind of community thing. So I just need to focus on that, and once I can get, and now we just implemented this. Oh, sorry for rambling, but
no, go man, go.
Another beautiful thing about Night Owl Nation is that because I charge $5 a month, like see, here's the beautiful things that comes up. That's why you should just keep trying, because you never know what happens, right? Because I charge $5, everybody in the community kind of knows that I'm not doing this for money. And because this is kind of my brand, everybody knows that I genuinely want to fix this. I genuinely want to figure this out. So we have so many volunteers. So every one of our small group leaders who are like making sure everybody show up, and those are volunteers. Mm-hmm. Every week, on Wednesdays when they teach the workshops, those are volunteers, right? We have onboarding volunteers. So every week when somebody sign up to join Night Owl Nation, we have a Zoom call where all the new members, this person, the volunteer, goes them through and show how to use Night Owl Nation, and like kind of coaches them through how they should onboard. We have so we're about to do a weekly storytelling competition and then we want to make this big, kind of like CrossFit games. And so we have volunteers that manage that. So because of the nature of this brand and community, we have so many volunteers who are so enthusiastic and they want to help, right? So through that, like we're trying to figure out, okay, once I can get everybody who you sign up, boom, you get onboarded, and boom, and then you get in a small group, and then you can consistently show up in small groups. If I can get somebody to do that within 6 months of signing up, then I would say I have a product that I'm proud of, that I can like just throw money into it. I'll promote the shit out of it. I'll go on Howard Stern and I'll just fucking yell it on the top of my lungs. Nice. But right now I just feel like I'm not there. And no point for me to bring everybody in there if they're just gonna sign up and do nothing, you know.
That's what what you just said there, because I was gonna ask you that. It's like, how much of your time are you like having to onboard these people, and like how much time are you investing into the community from that standpoint? But to have volunteers,
that's the beautiful thing that I didn't expect.
Golden. That's golden.
Because that was my biggest worry. I'm like, oh shit, how am I gonna scale this thing? Like, okay, if every 1,000 person I have to hire one person, this is not gonna work.
No,
because 1,000 person, that's only $5,000 a month. This is not gonna work, right? But then everybody started volunteering, and I was like, holy shit, okay, this is gonna work.
Nice. And you didn't know that, so you went in. You went in not knowing that. You went in just like, I'm gonna. I'm just gonna solve the problem, right? That's I'm gonna go with the intention to solve this issue that I think and teach. And then it just happened, right? He's like, I'll suss that bit out when it comes, and it came to you, presented itself.
But amazing. Here's what I'll say. I asked them, like, because I tell them that I was like, this is shocking, right? And they say the reason why we're doing this is because I see that you're doing this for us.
Reciprocal.
So I just want to do everything I can to give back, to help, right? So yes, we're a business. But you see the price point and the brand proposition and everything that just almost makes it look like we're a nonprofit or something like that. You see? That was the beauty of Tom's. Remember Tom's?
I didn't see his community.
No, Tom's.
Oh, Tom's
the shoe company.
Oh, the shoe. I thought you were talking about Tom who had the community. Okay, yeah.
No. The shoes, like they're a business
cheap, right?
that people think is a nonprofit.
Yeah. I don't know much about their story. You know, tell me a little bit about their story. What was?
Well, because like the guy, he went to Argentina and he saw all these kids that have no shoes, right? So he started a company where every shoe they sell, they give away a pair of shoes, right?
I remember.
And so that branding just went. People couldn't stop telling that story.
I think I learned this from one of your posts years ago. I think
yeah. I'm sure I talked about it. Yeah, because I love it. Like such a great brand story, and I think that's what happens when you build a brand around a mission, something you believe in. Then everybody around you just want to support you and just want to help you, right? But if you build a brand based on 6-figure launches and passive income, who the fuck wants to help you get your 6-figure launches so you can sip on a pina colada on the beach?
It's such a hard one, man. When I hear you say that, right, I agree. Because even me, right, I joined some mastermind, right, and I paid this amount, and they're all teaching that method, right? They're all teaching that method of like guarantees and this, that, and it works. It's so easy to jump on the bandwagon, but it literally makes me cringe, the thought of me doing it. Like, it goes against everything. And I've tried it openly. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be coachable, right? I've paid you a lot of money. I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to do it. And I'm just like, this is just bullshit.
You know what happens to me? When I usually take those courses, it's not that they're not useless, right? It's not that they're useless. Like, but if I take like a course that's like, let's say 5 days long, I might walk away with one thing out of there that really completely changed my business or something like that. And I might throw everything else away. Because the way I sell, I don't sell the way that all these sales trainers tell you to do it. Like, so if I went to those seminars and I followed those things, it wouldn't have worked for me because I know what works for me. And because like that whole tactic of, tell me where you're struggling. And if I do that whole trying to build rapport thing, it's just not going to work because people are going to, because I have bad poker face. But if I genuinely just talk to them and things like that, then I have my own way of doing it, right? So that's kind of what I learned is that, you just have to take it and throw away the rest.
You have to take the bits that, no, it's true. Well, I learned that very quickly in this scenario. And I was like, no, do you know what? Fuck this now. And I'm just going to take the gems. So like, for example, operations, there might be a specific problem in the agency. I'm like, right, because I've got access to you, that I'll just go and get the answer I need and get back out. And even then I'm like,
no, those are the most beautiful ones. Like those tips are like the best shit I get are like just one-liners that somebody said on a YouTube video or something like that.
Get the gem and go.
That's why I love like somebody like Alex Hormozi. You know Alex Hormozi?
Oh man,
like that's why I love people who make content that gives you practical things that you can actually use, right?
And speed,
rather than
right?
just
No, it's true. No, go on. Do they give you I think with Alex as well, where he's scaled so like his content game so much.
You can always
the advice he gives, his model, right? Which is like, I'm going to give away all this shit for free, and then I'm only going to want to work with, I'll coach you or I'll have this partnership if you're doing.
Well, he wants to invest in your company. That's what he really wants.
I think he takes something like 20% of like top end revenue, like
that's what he's looking for. He's looking for investment opportunities. Yeah.
Fair play, like wherever you can, but
great.
Man, give everything away for free. And
he's training them. He's training his future,
beautiful,
like company, like managers that he's investing in.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. The other thing that I do like about him, I don't think it's like a bit like what you're doing. Is like he's not talking about shit he's not done. Like
Yeah. No,
if you
that's exactly
see,
what I was gonna say. Yeah,
if you see what's being said, the people, everyone's
you
jumping
can
on
tell, right? What I
you
don't know
can
what
spit
it
the
is.
gurus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now go on.
I don't know what it is, but you can tell when somebody is speaking from experience, like they versus somebody says the same shit, but it's not coming from experience, right?
Oh man, like it's such a big difference. Such a big difference. Even like how you receive the info, even how they deliver it, everything's different. And I think that is one of the biggest. That's one of the reasons I dislike sometimes being on the platform. They're like just like scrolling through it's like regurgitated messaging from not any experience. I had a client the other day come to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do. I think we should try this with our funnel, our messaging, right? And he sent me a creator that's grown really quickly, over 100,000. I know. I've actually worked on a bit of their funnel in the past, and I know they're not making any money. But this guy is he's like 6xing every webinar on like a small budget. He's making more money than them. But because of he's seen this one post from the guru based on following that they're not implementing, because I've seen their funnel, I'm like, this is a virus. This is a virus that's happening.
Exactly.
So yeah, actually talking from experience it's so key when you're putting content out.
I think right now we're on the verge of that. Something's happening right now where that's shifting, where I think people are starting to kind of get fed up with the old, like the just marketing message, right? And yeah, some sort of shift is happening. I can feel it.
I agree. I think well, this is my plan. I don't know what your plan is with content, but obviously I've just got back in the game of it. But more strategy and what we're doing within the agency, what like strategies and tactics and processes and systems, what we're actually doing, rather than like I've got loads of content I'm sitting on that I'm gonna post, but it's like, hey, check this out. What's the
but that's
steps
the thing. That what you just said right there is kind of, if you look at Alex Hormozi, the reason why when he says that shit, people believe him, is because it's okay. It's one thing to be like, okay, with the business, like you need to have a business model first, and then you have to figure out how to scale it, right? Or blah, 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 like give them up. If somebody goes and says that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds fancy, but like, whatever. But then when Alex Hormozi says it, and then he goes, for example, when we first started Gym Launch, and he goes and gives you the specific scenario of what happened and makes you actually see, okay, that's what he means by that. That's what does it, right? So when you actually show what you're doing, okay, here, because I do that a lot. I'll say like, oh, here we're working on a campaign and we wrote the copy this way and we did this because of for this reason. And then here the lesson is, you tie that to a lesson, right? Oh, we are doing it this way. So give them an example of what you're working on, and then tie it to a lesson. That's so much more powerful. But what everybody is doing is they're just giving the lesson. That's why it comes out as a cliche, because everybody's saying the lessons, but show me the example of that lesson. Show me what that lesson looks like in real life. And that's what Alex Hormozi is doing.
Gold. Absolute gold. Take that in, people, man. Take that in. Take it in. Right.
See, so that's the thing, right? And when I look at it, I'm like, because he's grown like to 100 million and certain size, I'm looking at that. I'm like, holy shit. Like I don't even know what that's like. So, but he's been there. So to him, it's very clear. But at the same time, I know, like when it comes to my shit, like when it comes to copywriting, marketing, and things like that, I know a lot about this that other people don't know that I've been through. You know what I mean? So I just think everybody has that area, and you need to stick to that lane. The thing that you've done and you've worked on.
The thing is, the people. It's one of those things. You have to get the reps and sets in to be able to talk about it. But then don't be ashamed about talking about you doing the reps and sets. I learned this today. Like I learned this. I ran a $5 a day ad account and I learned this. Like it doesn't mean you have to be spending millions of pounds, right? You could, and I think that's the part where your ego is like, I'm not doing good enough, so I can't then talk about it. So I'm gonna steal something else and then talk about that. Whereas like people would be so much more engaged in telling that your story.
Here's a good example, right? Let's say you're starting a fashion brand and you started a business ordering a bunch of t-shirts, blah, 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 and then you set up this. And then you did it all wrong, so you had extra sizes, and now you lost a bunch of money. So you learned your lesson, and you decided to go with the print on demand, and you tried all the different print on demand, blah, blah, blah. But you're still in the beginning of your brand, and you're not profitable yet. At that moment, people don't want to make any content, right? But what that person should be making content on is how they lost money on here, and that's how they found this print on demand thing, and the process of that, which he did go through. But those people think that that's not good enough. They think that once they do $1 million a year in sales, then they can talk about it. But then here's the problem: once you get to that mark, you're gonna think that what you know is not good enough, and you're gonna say, "Oh, I need to get to the $10 million mark before I can talk about it." And once you get there, you're gonna think that, "Oh, what I know is not good enough." That shit will never end.
It's never ending. It's so true, man. And then you jump on other people's shit. And that's when you start doing other people's content. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
That's why today, talk about what you know now, right? For example, if you just, like, let's say you're working a 9-to-5 job and trying to start a side hustle, and you're trying to hire people on Fiverr to do this. Like, talk about the mistakes that you made on Fiverr. Talk about the mistakes you made when, or the struggles of trying to work a 9-to-5 job while running a business. Those kind of things, right? But they don't want to talk about that. No, I don't want people to know that I'm struggling.
That's the lane, man. That is the lane, guys. That is the lane. I'm telling you right now. I'm so glad I had this conversation because I've been thinking it, and I produced all this content that is middle ground, I would say. And then in my head, I'm like, I'm going to post it, but there's a new lane being carved, 100%. So Night Owl Nation, 750 people. When accountability sounds like taking action sounds like one of the biggest things that you want it to be, right? You want people to take action and learn and grow.
Mm-hmm. And accountability looks different to different people, I realize. So one of the biggest lessons that I'm learning is the different personality types and how everybody learns different. And a lot of times what we do is we try to force one way, and that doesn't work. So, like, for example, in our small groups, we have different levels of accountability. So for some groups, we just say, just show up. And then what we're trying to do is, for these people, we're trying to get them to show up on whatever that they meet and enjoy that conversation. Just because you're opening up, you're talking about yourself and blah, 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 you're talking about your business. So they just enjoy showing up and sharing. That's good enough. Just do that. Because from there, you'll get something out of that conversation, right? But then if you want to take that to extreme, then what I want you to do is I want you to set what you are going to be accountable for that week. So this next week, I'm going to post 5 posts at least. And then next week, check in, right? So different levels of accountability. Because some people like the hardcore accountability, but some people, I realize that when you do that, they just disappear into a hole.
Interesting. No, you're right. You're right. And it's that a lot of course creators, right, or communities, or programs, or whatever you want to do, systems, they typically will, like you say, force an agenda. This is how it is. I've never, ever thought about that. When actually, like, I'm the worst with someone badgering me. Don't badger me. Like, tell me what needs to be done, and I'm going to go do it. Yeah. But don't be messaging. Some
people don't like that, right?
And some people don't like that. Yeah. Some people need that. So it's true.
Some people want that. Some people want a train to come yell at them. But for some people, as soon as you do that, they're going to shut down. Right?
Yeah, it's true. And that's a lie, actually, because there's times where I need it around things, and there's times where I don't. So it probably goes in phases as well, right? Like, for example, if it's something I'm passionate about.
Well, no. There's something, okay. that's why self-awareness is so important. There are things that you don't like it, but you need it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there are actual people where you think they need it, but it's actually hurting them, because these people have the type of you have the type of personality where, okay, I'm willing to bite the tongue and just do it, right? For my own sake, right? But there are people out there who, when you do that, because they're so sensitive, like maybe they're super introverts, or their sensitivity level is so high, they can't handle that anxiety and stress, and they'll just shut down. And you can never and it's going to take you so long to get them out of that hole.
Yeah. So true. Oh man, I'm getting so many ideas, even for like how we deal with clients, like how much accountability.
Yeah, every client. Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm sitting there thinking, because clients, if I was a client, I'm like, how much support do you need? How much accountability do you need? How many times do you want us to check in with?
Yeah,
that's gold.
Some clients want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah, right? They do. As
some clients want you to check in on them every day.
Man, and we're like, nope, we're gonna do this, like this, right? But you're forcing an agenda. Love that.
Yeah.
What I don't know how we're doing for time, but a couple of questions. What would you say to anyone that's looking to build a community based on the experience that how quickly did you grow to 750 members without any real
like the
promotion?
First month.
Okay, so 750 members of a community in month 1.
Well, here's what I'll say. If I really, really wanted to promote this right now, like within the next year, I can probably get it to like 10,000 members. Like I noticed that if I am promoting, I get about 20 members a day, 20 new members per day. Okay. Having said that.
No, I believe it. I believe that. Easy.
Yeah. Having said that, I want to say this. Community is not about the numbers at all. Like you said, the follower thing, the same thing applies in communities. Because the biggest, when people come into Night Owl Nation, the thing that I get the most than any other thing is not like how big our community is, blah, 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 but how different it feels. Because when you come into Night Owl Nation, other members, blah, blah, you get into the Discord, you get into the Slack group, and you're like, oh, say hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Sun, blah, blah, face group, whatever. And then, that thing. Like, and Night Owl Nation is different because, like, you're going to go to the small group meeting, and you're going to be like, oh, I didn't do my homework. But like, and then somebody's going to be like, oh, welcome. And they're going to actually DM you, a person who knows you. Like, because right away, we know who the small group leader is going to be. The small group leader is going to like look them up on their Instagram and things like that. DM them. You're like, hey, you're part of my small group, and you feel like you're part of the group right away, right? And they handhold you through it, and that kind of, and also this is another thing. I've had other people, big community creators, community leaders, who came to our Night Owl Nation and said, "Son, how do you do it? Like, how do you keep the community so positive?" Because like they said, like sometimes like there's people always trying to sell stuff, market, sell promotions.
Yeah, promos. Like
yeah. There's like guys trying to pick up girls, and like there's like toxic things happen right within these communities. So he's like, how do you keep it so clean, and how do you keep it so positive and things like that? But the thing is, we're not an empty community. We're not like that. We're not just a Discord server with just people. Like, that's not us. We're an actual community, like, that meet every Sunday, meet in small groups. Like, we know each other. We know each other by first name and face. Because of that, you come to our community, you try to make a post where you're trying to self-promote. Within the first minute, somebody will call you out.
Yeah, you're gone.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is what I'm going to say. Don't focus on the size, because this is not my first rodeo, right? I've worked on communities that have thousands of people to tens of thousands of people. Don't focus on the size, because that automatically happens, right? What you want to do is you want to try to do things that are unscalable. For example, like me, in the first 9 weeks, I've went into every small group meeting, like once, to see how they're doing, so I can learn from them, get their feedback and things like that. Now I'm not doing it anymore, but because that first group, there's enough people from that first group had a good experience that they're now they're small group leaders, and I have meetings with them now 3 times a week, 3 different meetings a week. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing in my head, I'm not thinking about, oh, how I'm going to scale this, or how I'm going to do this once we're at 10,000 members, or how I'm going to do this when we're at 100,000. Like, I used to worry about that shit all the time. And, you know, and then like actually not start. But now I don't do that anymore. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to figure out how to fix this problem. Okay, oh, shit. There's a couple of people in every small group that are not consistently showing up. I'm just going to figure out how I can fix this. Okay, I'm going to DM them. I'm just going to figure out how to fix it first. And once I figure out what the core of the problem is, I have fixed it, then I'll figure out how to scale it. Because from experience from the last few months that I've been doing this, what I realize is that when I approach it that way, the scale automatically happens. Kind of like the volunteer thing that I told you about. It's weird like that. Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it. I love it. And because most people they would genuinely be put off, right? That would stop them in their tracks, or it would stop them from growing. And I love the fact you talk about feeling, because it's so true. The amount of communities that you join and you do fuck all, you contribute fuck all, you see fuck all, and you're
Facebook
like,
groups.
Facebook groups, for example, right? And you're like, well, what's the point? So, yeah, I can imagine people are only like crazy surprised when they pay $5 and then you roll out the red carpet for them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, this is
I
what
can only
happens.
imagine they're like,
I'll tell you what
Jesus,
happens.
this is incredible. Like, this feels instantly like something different.
Well, most people actually pay the $5. They come in, and they don't even have the time to just go through to see what we have, right? So what happens is they just get overwhelmed. And then they're like, okay, I'll come back one day. So I need to figure out how to fix that. That's one of the problems that's on my to-do list to fix. But then there are some people who are like, oh wow, this is amazing. I'm going to try to get the most out of this. And then there's like a small group of people that are like, son, like they think it's a lie. Like, people keep asking me like, oh, I feel like I need to get all this stuff before you raise the price or something like that, right? They think it's a lie. So yeah, there's like,
they think it's like a scheme to kind of like just like upsell at some point, or you know, okay, got it.
But that's what I mean. I it's kind of like when Elon Musk first went public with the open, like making Tesla open source. Like, all the investors like, what the like, what? Right? Like, it's kind of like people didn't understand it, right? But I think that was one of the best things he could have done for marketing for Tesla, right? Like, because what that shows is that it shows that what he cares about is the progress of electric vehicles, not making the most money with Tesla, right?
And people don't see, like, they might call you out and think, well, there'll be people that go, you're crazy, right? There's people that are going to go like, you're bonkers, like, that's mad, you're not going to make any money, so on and so forth. There's also people who are going to go, is this like some sort of like gimmick? Is this like, you know what I mean? But the truth is,
I get all of that.
But
I get, trust me, I'm in that place right now where I have a lot to prove, right?
Yeah, that's
because
what I mean.
I said a lot of shit. So now I gotta back it up. So it all, if I can actually make it happen, then I'm gonna be like, see, I told you so. But at the same time, if I can't make it happen, then I gotta eat the shit. I gotta be like, oh fuck, I couldn't make it happen.
But you know what though, man? Your intention, because of the intention, really, it doesn't fucking matter, because you know what your intention was. Because the intention is pure, and what you're trying to achieve.
Exactly.
Okay, you might have egg on your face from but you doesn't fucking matter. Because
I know in the bottom of my heart, even the way it is now, which I don't think is good enough, is far better than anything else that's out there already. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I just need to make people see that more. That this is the new way of doing things. Like just $3,000 course, boom. That's the old way. That doesn't work anymore. This is the new way.
It makes money still, but
yeah
I hear what you're saying. This is the combo, right? It's
here's what I think.
People are choosing money over some, like, it makes money, right? We know it makes money. People are making money, so then it just gets passed on, right? But there are other ways.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Okay, like as long as there's money making opportunities, it always happen. You're right, and that's why there's always those there's always crypto scams. There's always real estate scams. In every industry, there's always somebody looking to take advantage of an opportunity because the audience don't know certain thing. Use that to their advantage to sell them something, and I get it.
Not on your watch. What was I going to say to you? Where is the community? Where is it actually? Because that will be a question that 100 will come up. Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not on Facebook, is it?
Oh no, we use Circle.
Circle, that's it.
Circle.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's perfect for what we do, because we need more than is a repository of videos and content and things like that, more than the discussion side. Because those, come on, like Facebook groups, Discord groups, Slack, we've all been in those communities, right? How many of you guys actually go in there on a daily basis and read and interact with those groups, right? Like it's about 10% of the community that are only doing it, right? So yes, that's still helpful, but to me, that's not the core of the community. I think the core of the community is I'm not religious, but I used to go to church like when I was young. And when I started this thing, the first thing I looked at was how churches do small groups. Because I know that this is a system that has worked for 2,000 years. And, like in the first 300 years of Christianity actually grew the fastest. And in that first 300 years, that's when Christianity was banned by the Romans. So the way it grew is not because there were big churches, but because there were these underground secret small groups that were meeting, and that made it grow even faster, right? So, and then like when I was young, I saw how it works, because you go to church on Sunday, you're like, oh wow, like here's like a big community. You have the music and you have the fellowship and all of that. And then you go to the small group and you have this like intimate, close circle of friends where you can really open up and things like that. So the combination of those two things really builds the like smaller here, smaller the better for the small groups, and then the congregation like bigger the better. That's why we do the Sunday service on every Sunday. We all meet, and there's something magical happens if you're a new member and you join a small group with this close few friends of small groups, and you get close to them and you start share. Let's say you're the type of person that never shares publicly, like so shy, but you get close to them and you start sharing in your small group and you become friends with them. And then now you come to Sunday service and you still see them all on Sunday service on Zoom, and you on chat, like they're talking to each other, and it just amplifies that sense of. And then if one of them shares in the Sunday service, then other people in the group are gonna cheer them on, and it's just. Yeah, it's an amazing thing that's happening.
Amazing, man. That's incredible. That's incredible. Guys, listen, if you're thinking about community, that's gold. Even for me listening in, I'm like, that's such good information. Such good information. Dude, where can people find you? Do you want to just kind of shout out where the best place to go? And by the way, like storytelling, if you're listening to this and you've got a course, you're a coach or an storytelling plays such an important part to everything you're doing. So go and join the community, man. Jesus, even me, I'm like, you've said it to me before. Why are you not joining the community? My thing's like, I want to go in and dedicate the time to it. And I know at the minute I'm not in that headspace, but
no, that's the thing. There are a lot of people who are kind of waiting for that moment. So I'm gonna figure out how to kind of a kickstart this thing for people, because I think people need that, like kickstart their
But like, I'm
storytelling
perfect. I'm a
journey.
perfect because I know how look. I know how valuable it is. I know I need it, but then I'm like, I know what
You
you
need like
want.
the plan, yeah.
Well, I also know that you want people to execute, right? So as much, I can go and pay you $5. But I'm not going to pay you the $5 when I know your intention is to make sure that people are taking action.
Yeah.
So
So that's exactly why we told people to, at the very least, we want them to just invest 1 hour a week in showing up for the small group meeting. Because what happens is, a lot of times when you start telling a story, even if you didn't have the story or you didn't know if there's anything there, when you actually start telling it and people start asking you questions about it, and something usually comes out of that. Yeah. So we just say, go to your small group meeting. That's it.
I'm joining, guys. I'm joining. I recommend you go join. But mate, thank you for today, because I've learned a lot about community, and I was wondering, how the hell is this guy doing this? Honestly, I genuinely was like, how is he doing it? And now I've got a window, and so has everybody else. But where can people find you? I'm pretty sure they already know. But
I'm still the best place is Instagram.
yeah,
sun.yi.
Cool, mate. And I'll see you on Sunday service.
All right,
I'm gonna
brother.
join, man. I'm gonna join. Thank you, mate. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, man.
Cheers, man.
Peace out.
Bye.